My name is Todd Lammy. I've been selling on Amazon since 2012, doing wholesale, and I am a eight-figure seller. Today I want to talk about contacting wholesalers. So there's three ways to contact wholesalers: phone, email, and then a contact us web form. So today we're primarily going to talk about phone communication. So the number one thing when contacting a wholesale vendor is being very upfront about selling your products. I think that's the key. Is at some point you're going to have to talk to them about selling on Amazon, with how easy Amazon makes it to file trademark claims or copyright infringement or whatever the claims are for brands. You really want to make sure that they know who you are, they know your seller name, and they know where you're selling their products. So when it comes to phone communication, I've used Skype or Line 2 to get a phone number. If you're making the calls yourself to start off and you don't have a team, you can also use a personal cell phone. But if you're using other team members, we've used Skype or Line 2. The next thing you want to do is leverage a VAs or virtual assistants to make contacts. And again, phone is so important because everyone's blasting out email. Phone is kind of like the next level for wholesale. Like when I started in 2012, or you could start off just sending out emails, but the game is like changed. There's just too many people reaching out. I had a vendor recently, they showed me like 30 emails they received from some people trying to get wholesale accounts, and they just immediately went in their trash. They didn't even look at them. They're like, yeah, I'm the gatekeeper for Amazon. They just go in the trash. So we try to make contacts to get wholesale accounts in 2024. So you can provide a phone script to your virtual assistant with some objection options laid out. There's not one size fits all for the phone script. Kind of depends on the category and like what level account you're going after. The next thing you want to do is make sure you research the products on Amazon before you contact them. So this gives you an idea of some of the other brands that are in that category, like what other sellers are selling the product, because those are going to eventually become your competitors. But it's easiest to start from the beginning by focusing on one category. So they say kind of like this, the quickest point between two points is a straight line. So the same thing is kind of with wholesale. Like the easiest way to success is by focusing on one category. That's the path I took in the beginning. And it doesn't matter what category you pick. They all can be successful. It doesn't matter if you're picking pets, if you're doing baby, if you're doing tools, like any one of them could be successful. It's just a matter of focusing on that, kind of understanding the category, understanding price points, again, understanding your competition, and then the brands. It also helps when you're looking for trade shows for what types of categories fit into certain trade shows. So that helps as well. The next thing you want to do is you want to look through the listings on Amazon before you contact the vendor, so you can determine where you can make a difference. So where are the gaps on the listings or with the brand that you're going to be able to come in and add value. And so we'll talk about this kind of as your unique selling proposition in one of the next slides. Is Amazon on the list, or sorry, letter F, is the brand selling the product? If so, are they only doing FBM? So if the brand is selling the product and there's other Amazon sellers on the listing, we will still go after and try to get those accounts. If they're the only seller and they're doing FBM, fulfilled by merchant, you have an easy path in there to say, hey, we're doing fulfilled by Amazon. People can get it in 1 to 2 days. We can raise your sales by 15 to 20% pretty easily just by setting it up as a FBA sale instead of a FBM sale. So there are opportunities both ways that the brand is selling. If they're doing FBA, I would still reach out and contact them. If they're the only seller and they're doing FBA, your chance of getting the account is probably like, 1%. It depends on you whether you want to reach out. In that case, if it's just the brand and no other sellers, I would probably skip it unless you see their listings are terrible. There's room for opportunity there. But if there's the brand selling it and other sellers, I would reach out. If it's the brand only and they're doing FBM, I would reach out too. If Amazon's on the listing, so if it could be yes or no, depending. We don't like to compete against Amazon. It depends how many products the brand has. So if Amazon is on 50% or more of the listings, we'll typically stay away. It's not a hard and fast rule because they might not be on the top like 20 selling products. Most likely they are, but you just have to do some additional research. You know, if they're on 80%, 90%, there comes a certain percentage where it's just not worth it because at some point Amazon could come in on those listings. But if you're competing against Amazon, you're just not winning the buy box. And even if there's MAP pricing in place, Amazon's not going to follow MAP pricing, and there's no way for the brand to get them to raise their price. And so you're just fighting too much of an uphill battle. So do we compete against them? Not directly as far as on a specific ASIN, but if they are selling some of the products, we'll just look for products they're not selling. We also want to look at the listings to see if everyone's selling at the same price. If so, the account likely has a MAP policy in place. MAP is minimum advertised price. And so you kind of have an idea when you're contacting them. If they bring up MAP, you know what that means. You can speak like you're an authority on that topic. So we'll look to see if we think there's MAP policy might be in place. When it comes to email, if you're going to do email, sometimes there might not be a phone number listed on the website. The key thing is to buy a domain name for your business. So if your business is Larry Shoes, you'd want to buy larryshoes.com. And you can pop that through Gmail. So when you send the email, it'll look like it's coming from, your name at larryshoes.com, but you can send it through Gmail. There's a way to do that. I will post a link in the description for how to pop email through to Gmail. But you don't want to use a Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook email address. It's 2024. You have so many people you're competing against to get wholesale accounts. You want to look like it's a business. You don't want to look like this is just like a side hustle or like a hobby. So, and then the third one is like a contact us / web form to use. Those are in like least case scenario. Sometimes there will be a spot on the website where it says like to apply for a wholesale account, click here. So you could do something like that to apply for an account. But mainly, 90% of the time we're trying to make a phone contact. 8% of the time it's an email, maybe 2% is contact us. It just depends what the options are on the website. But we're always trying to do a phone call. And if you don't find a phone number on the website, if you just use Google, search for the company name, look for company name, then phone number, you can usually find a phone number that way to reach out and contact them through the phone direct. So those are kind of some of the things we're looking at when we're contacting. Again, we're trying to make phone connections as much as we can. Otherwise, email or contact us web form. Okay, so the next slide is talking to wholesalers. And again, we're going to focus on the phone perspective. So there's no hard and fast rule again for the script. You can say like, we are interested in carrying your line of products for our e-commerce store. If you don't use e-commerce and you say retail store, you may get them an impression you have a brick and mortar store, which if you do, that's great. You can use retail. We try to say e-commerce. We try not to say like for our Amazon store. We'll get to Amazon in a minute, but you're an e-commerce seller. We sell on multiple platforms. We have our own websites. We sell on eBay, Walmart, Amazon International, different places. So we'll bring that up. And then we are interested in the following products. So this again goes back to slide 1 where it talks about like doing some research ahead of time. Because if you're not doing any research and calling them and someone says like, hey, what products are you interested in? And you're like, I don't know, like your best-selling ones. You don't want to say that because they have people calling them saying like, hey, what are your top 20 best-selling products? And you might get away with that for like 5% of the accounts that are small and don't care. But the majority of them have talked to people like that. You don't sound like you know what you're talking about. So try to research the products ahead of time before you reach out to the brand. So you just sounds like you know what you're talking about and you spend a little time looking at the brand. So once you make this opening sentence or two, the conversation could go a few different ways. I could ask where you sell. The more places you have, the better. We have our own website set up as like Shopify sites, so we can list products there. eBay, Etsy, which is a typo I'll have to fix. Amazon International if you're selling in UK, if you're doing the NARF program for Canada, Mexico. So the more places you have, the better. Just differentiates you from competition. So if 5 people are calling in and you're the only one that's selling on multiple platforms, again, you have the better chance of trying to land the account. do you sell on Amazon? You want to be upfront here and just say, yes, we do. They might ask you to send a link to their store. If they say, do you sell on Amazon? You want to bring up like, hey, we've been selling on Amazon 10 years. We've done X amount of sales. We work with these companies in this category, but you need to differentiate yourself from the other Amazon sellers as to why you're different than the last 5 people I called that are also Amazon sellers. And at some point you will need to bring up Amazon if they don't. So if you just say like, the opening sentence, we're interested in carrying your line of products for our e-commerce store, we're interested. They're like, great, we'll send you the information. And you haven't told them you're on Amazon. You can't then get the information, place an order, put it up on Amazon. As we talked about in slide 1, it's just too easy. Amazon has made it too easy for brands to file claims, even if it's not true. And you don't want to get hit with like 3 counterfeit claims or IP claims and then have your account suspended and you lose that income. So at some point in the conversation, you need to bring up Amazon. If they say, hey, you're approved, is it okay to sell on Amazon? But you're going to have that conversation at some point. If they give pushback on Amazon, which is going to happen a good portion of the time, you need to listen for clues for what their pain points are. So if they say, hey, we tried to work with Amazon sellers before, they just drove the price into the ground. Or, hey, we used to work with Amazon sellers, we have too many right now. Hey, we have Amazon sellers that are taking up too much of our inventory for our brick and mortar store. So you need to be able to listen, and then going back to slide 1 to those objections, you need to be able to have talking points ready, regardless if you're a new or experienced seller. 5, have your USP ready, which we'll talk about in slide 3. That's your unique selling proposition. And then number 6, above all else, be professional. Some categories are very small. Salespeople talk about sellers to other salespeople. They also talk about sellers to me. I've had salespeople ask me if I know so-and-so is a seller because of something they did. Bad news gets around very quickly, and because people talk. We had one order we placed where the sales rep accidentally made a mistake and entered some wrong SKU numbers, and we got some wrong product. And I had another salesperson ask me about it at a trade show, not even connected to the brand or that salesperson. So people talk, news gets around. It's a very small community in some cases. So regardless of what your conversation is, whether you get the account or not, you just want to make sure you'll be professional at all times. So then at the end of the conversation, you want to talk about, could you email me a catalog, a price list, an Excel format if you have one, and also let me know the minimum dollar amount for the first order. Once you're more experienced, the dollar amount doesn't care because you're going to be able to order it. Most cases it's $250 or $500. So if you're an experienced seller, the amount's not going to matter, so we don't even ask for about that. But when you're starting off, if you only have $1,000 to spend, you want to make sure you know what the minimum dollar amount is for the first order, because you might have to only be able to order from like 1 or 2 brands. A lot of Amazon sellers will ask for the Excel file because they're just going to run it through software, but you don't want to make that your first talking point. So I had one vendor tell me like, hey, they sent me this email and said, hey, send me your top selling products, send me the Excel file so we can run through software. And it's just, they're just kicking those emails out. It's just like sending resumes. It's hard to get your information read, so you want to make sure you're as professional as possible. You're differentiating yourself from other Amazon sellers, so you're going to be able to get the account. If they send a price list in a PDF format, the best website I've found to convert the PDF to Excel is ilovepdf.com. They also have a lot of different ways you can convert Word to Excel, Word to PDF, all the different things, so it's a very helpful tool. So we convert all the PDFs to Excel, and then we'll use VLOOKUPs and different things to pull data together to put the order. So as a Amazon seller, if you're strong in Excel, that's going to be one of your skill sets to set you apart. And we do 90% of our work in Excel, so that comes in very handy. If you don't have Excel background, I would take some general Excel classes just to brush up on your skills and kind of get them up to speed. So the next slide, we're going to talk about the unique selling proposition. So this is what differentiates you from the other sellers. So again, be truthful with what you're saying. If you're going to run ads, if you're going to do this, if you're going to do that, you just want to make sure that you're doing it, because at some point you're going to get called out if you're not. So I listed about 10 different things. Some of these will apply to you, some of them won't. It depends where you are in your journey as an Amazon seller. So we've been in business X amount of years. So if you've been in business 12 years, obviously you're going to have an advantage over someone who's been in business 3 years, especially if you've been selling on Amazon that whole time. We have X number of vendors we currently order from. If you say you have 200 vendors, obviously you sound like you're a real business. You're not like a mom and pop. If you only have 3 vendors, obviously you don't want to bring this up because then you're going to sound like a small company and you're trying to get an account. So when we talk about how some of these points apply, it depends where you are in like the life cycle of your business. If it's an account that has MAP, or if you've seen that kind of from like looking at the Amazon listing, you think they have MAP, you're going to say we have, 10 accounts we already have MAP pricing set up with. So as you talk the lingo and can talk to them about business and MAP and brick and mortar, the more they're going to have trust and faith in what you're saying. So be able to talk like MAP, minimum advertised price, you know what that means. But the most important thing is understanding what the purpose of MAP is to keep their brick and mortar customers happy. So on Amazon, you're like a tiny drop in the bucket. You're like, 1% of their sales. They care about their retail customer. So we have one vendor, they have about 2,800 retail customers. They have like a couple Amazon sellers. So if you compare like 2,800 to, a couple, you're like nothing to them. So it's very important that if there's MAP on the account, you're sticking to MAP. If there's other sellers dropping or selling below MAP, you obviously can report them. But what's going to happen is brick and mortar customers are going to call up the brand. They're going to complain. They're going to say so-and-so is selling under MAP. And that's a good way for sellers to get kicked off of Amazon, because at some point, if people are complaining and no one's following a MAP, the brand's going to be like, forget it. We'll just sell it ourselves. We'll take it off Amazon. We'll do something else. So you want to make sure you're following MAP, or if others aren't, that you're reporting them or have a way to communicate that, because you want to try to make sure when you get accounts, that you don't lose them, because they're very hard to get wholesale accounts. And so you want to make sure you maintain that revenue from year to year. Going back to number 5, going back to slide 1, when we talked about focusing on a category. So if let's say you're in the baby category and you say like we carry products from, baby company 1, 2, 3, and 4, that just gives you social proof, right? So it's like we got a proof for these companies in the baby category, like you should approve us too because we work with them. So focusing on one category, whereas if you get accounts in 5 different categories and then you're like, yeah, we want to sell in baby, but we have no accounts, it's going to be hard to get that first one when you don't have like the social proof to back up, like you're already ordering from some other ones. We're set up to sell internationally. We'd love to make your products available in the marketplace, Canada, FBA, UK. So a lot of people are doing NARF, which is where your products are shipped by Amazon from the US to Canada, Mexico. Not a lot of people are doing FBA in Canada. So that's one way to set yourself apart. If you do UK, if you're doing any other countries over in Europe, you're going to have an advantage there. You can create new listings using flat files. This goes back to the power of Excel. So creating new listings, a lot of them are going to be flat files. So understanding how to use Excel, understanding how to use VLOOKUPs, pivot tables, all of that is going to help you in your wholesale journey. But the key thing here is you're not just looking for the best-selling product. So what's going to differentiate you once you get the account is if there's 5 people and selling, and a lot of times people are just going to sell what's already on Amazon. There's not people that are usually creating new listings using flat files. So if you're able to create new listings, because they want more sales, they want more coverage on Amazon. So if you can create 30, 40, 50 new listings and no one else is doing that, you can show them like, hey, I'm invested in the brand, I'm creating this. B, there's always a chance at some point they're going to reduce the number of sellers on the listing. And so when it comes to kind of that judgment day, you need to be able to stack up, like I'm doing like A, B, C, D, E for the brand, compared to someone else who's just reordering, just the best-selling products. You can run Amazon ad campaigns. This kind of depends too how many sellers are on the listing, how often you're getting the buy box, because the Amazon ad is only going to show when you're in the buy box. You talk about fixing and updating listings. Amazon has made this harder recently. You may need brand registry access from them to have the listing updates take effect. So you might need to work with the brand to get that in place. We provide yearly inventory forecasts to help with demand planning. So this is very important, and we've run into this issue with a couple of brands in the past. So especially during COVID, when there was problems getting inventory shipped and containers and production and everything else. So if you think about it, let's say they have like 100 Christmas trees, and you come in and all of a sudden you want to order 90 of them. Well, now there are 2,800 retail customers. When they go to order Christmas trees, there's 10 left for, 2,800 of them. So they're going to, call the place to order, and they're not going to have it. So there's a chance that they go find another brand. And so now instead of 2,800 vendors, next year they have 2,700 or something because you took all of their inventory. So we run into this a couple times. So the idea is once you start going along, and after 3 months, 6 months, however good you are at forecasting and figuring out sales, is to provide them with the inventory forecast. And maybe it's not for a year, maybe it's 3 months, 6 months, but you need to be able to provide them with something that's going to say like, hey, we expect to be taking this amount of inventory. And it's not something you're held to, it's just to give them an idea. So if you say like, hey, we're going to order 100 Christmas trees next year, and let's say you take 90, in most cases, they're not going to just hold you to 100. You're providing them a forecast. So then when it comes, but they need to have like a pretty close idea. Don't say like, we think we're going to sell 100 and then you order 10. Like you have to be like pretty close within that forecast. But it helps them with planning where they know like, okay, we need like 1,000 trees for our brick and mortar. We're going to set aside 200 for Amazon. That's just going to help them out. So this isn't a complete list. As you go along and you do more things with wholesale, you'll be able to add other things to this, items that fit your skill set. So that's kind of it as far as like doing phone contacts for wholesale. The next challenge then is like, okay, I made all these contacts. How am I going to manage all this? So if we're making all these phone contacts, before we used to use like Excel sheets, and then we were using Trello boards, and we had all these VAs posting multiple files in Google Drive, and we had CRM tools. And so you kind of see this logo we have down here called VenBoss. So we have a software we launched. It's free to register. If you go to app.venboss.com to register, it helps you manage all of your wholesale accounts in one place. It also will help you with VA tasks for sending notifications. So if you have a team of 3 or 4 VAs, and so the way we have it set up is we have a dialer person making outbound calls. They'll do the call, update the tool, and then it goes to the next few people. Here's a video walkthrough of the tool, the support.venboss.com. And so we'll do a quick show of the tool, just a quick 5-minute tutorial to kind of show you how it works. So in this admin section, here is the notification I was talking about. So the admin, it could be you as owner. We have a lead generator, so that's the person who's creating the leads. You can upload leads using a file, Excel file, or you can manually enter them into the tool. We have outbound sales, which we call our like dialer. So who's ever making the contact, reaching out to them. We have a analyst role, which is once the dialer contacts the account, they get the account, the files then go to the analyst to run them through software, figure out if it's profitable or not to order, and then they'll send the file to the buyer manager to make the decisions to place the order. So if it's just you doing yourself, you're all of these roles. If you have 3 or 4 people in the team, you can set up checkboxes. So once the outbound salesperson marks the account as won, it's going to send an email notification to the analyst. So they don't have to come out to the tool. They're going to get an email notification that, hey, this account is won. You need to now go and do your task. When they upload the file saying like, hey, this is ready to review for order, this is going to the buyer/manager. This might be you as the owner. So everything is set up as notifications. So the tasks are being passed along. You don't have to come out here and check to see like, oh, have we won any accounts this week? You're going to get notification. It's like, hey, has the analyst finished working on the software or working on the UPC files? You're going to get a notification. So everything here for the notifications is for workflow purposes, for sending emails to the different roles on the team. And then, so this is the vendors tab. You can see we have some pets in here. So you have a way to import using an Excel file. You have a way to manually add them. And so we have different filters at the top. You can sort for when the last update was. You can sort for follow-up. But essentially what this does is it serves as a call list for your virtual assistant. So the person that's doing the dialing, they can filter for anything that's new or that's in a, you can filter for anything that's in like a new and follow-up status, awaiting. You click search, it's going to update the status. So it's like, okay, when I come in, these are the ones that are on my call list today. I need to contact them. So once you contact them, you can click into the tab. There's a notes section here where the person making the contact will just go in and dial the note or input the notes. You have the company brand information. You have the status, which you can change here, the website, the phone number, if they have a UPC file, if they have map pricing, if there's order placed, you can mark different things there. There's a contact section. You can assign the roles to the different people here if you want to. And then we have several different sections for files, and these are where it'll trigger the different notifications. So when you change a status up here to 1, that's going to send a notification to the analyst. The dialer would post the files here. They'll post UPC's files here. The analyst will then get the UPC files. They can run them through whatever software of your choice. They're going to upload them to the output file, which will then send a notification to the buyer manager. So the tool serves as like a multi-purpose tool. It's going to keep all of your wholesale accounts in one place. You're no longer using Excel files trying to figure out like where everything is. You have multiple tabs for different categories. You're using Google Drive to store files. You're using Trello for tasks. Like everything is all done in one place. So everything that we've done and managed our business since 2012 has now all been put into software. This is like our workflow, our process. And so we're just think this is like a much better way for management and to simplify tasks. So there's things you can do from the checkmark standpoint. There's things you can do from the thing. There's a kind of dashboard tab. There's a vendors tab. There's filters you can do. Again, you can upload or import Excel files. So let's say you go to a trade show, you get like 50 vendors, you have all their information, you just upload the Excel file, it'll populate, they'll show up as new status. But yeah, so you want to have something in place to manage everything. Otherwise, you're going to get overwhelmed. So we talked about phone. You're doing, let's say, 30 or 40 phone calls a day. If you're shooting out emails and you're doing like 30 or 40 of those, all of a sudden you potentially have 100 inbound contacts. So you need to have a system in place so you don't get overwhelmed, especially if you're working, let's say, a full-time job and you're doing this as a side part-time to start off with. You need to have a system in place and have everything organized. So this is a pretty nice way to do it. You can check out the software to register and the walkthrough. I'll post that in the description. And then if you have any comments or feedback on the video, please let me know.